Today, in a very detailed way, I'm gonna explain how to transform an idea like this into a real image. Hey there, my name is Ali. I'm really excited for today's tutorial. I'm gonna go really slow explaining everything step by step. Okay, first I want you to understand something about brushes. I link my brush down in the description below. You can download it. Then you stand on the brush tool, press right click. You will find a small gear icon top right. You open this gear icon, you press load brushes, and then you click on this one, which is called mine. This is my brushes, or wherever you download it on your desktop. You will have all the brushes here so you can follow along, because if you follow along and you upload this photo on Instagram, I'm gonna give you a shout out. Okay, let's get started. I downloaded these photos, as you can see, all of them from Unsplash, Unsplash, Unsplash. I decided this one is gonna be our mountain, the main mountains for all of them. These two are gonna be the landscapes. This one we might use it, I'm not really sure, for a landscape. I like the path it has here, and I just saw this bridge and liked it. Maybe we're gonna use it, I don't know yet, we will see. Okay, first I'm gonna drag my mountain. This one, I believe it's gonna be the main mountain. We're gonna use in all like the mountains. I'm gonna use the quick selection tool here just to get rid of the ones at the back. I only want this one in the front, the mountain. Okay, after I made my selection, I'm gonna add a layer mask. It did the opposite of what I want. So I'm gonna just press Ctrl and I. So it made the reverse, so now I have the mountain. One thing I need you to understand, if you look closely, you see the details here, they are big because the mountain is close to the camera. However, if I want to add this mountain somewhere here far in the background, it's gonna look weird because it will have like a lot of big details. So this is something I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something like duplicating the texture or making it much bigger. Okay, so now I'm gonna apply layer mask. Now we have this mountain. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold Alt and Shift, and I'm just gonna move it something like that. Then I'm gonna move this one below. So now we have a little bit bigger like texture. I'm gonna press Ctrl E now to merge these two layers together. Ctrl E does the merge, but you have to select them first. Then I'm gonna go to the clone stamp tool. I'm gonna use a little bit big brush, something like that. Maybe bigger. I hold Alt and right click to make it bigger and smaller. And I'm just gonna sample from here and add some texture here. Make sure you're standing on current layer, not all layers, and maybe sample some from here also. Something like that. This works as duplicating the texture. Now we have much bigger mountain texture that we can use. Okay, let me drag this one for now. Look, it's already big enough. We can make it like now smaller a little bit, something like that. And I'm gonna select this layer, it's layer 3. I select by pressing Ctrl and click on the layer to select it. Okay, then I'm gonna pull this one on top of it, open it. I want to rotate this one horizontal, so I press Ctrl T, then flip horizontal. So it's matching the mountains are going from left to right, and the texture should also go from left to right. Now I'm gonna Control click this one. I made a selection on this one. Then I'm gonna add a layer mask on top of this one. So now I have this one. Okay, if it's too big, we can make use of it or make it smaller. So I'm just gonna unlink the mask. Now I'm only controlling the layer itself, not the layer mask. So I'm gonna press Ctrl T. Now I will make it smaller, something like that. I don't want to make it too small because, as you can see here, I'm going out of the mask. You see, I'm going out of the mask. So just a little bit smaller and adjust its direction to look more natural. Something like that should be good. And I'm gonna press OK. So now we have our first mountain in the back. I'm not gonna do any editing now. I'm just gonna stick, let's try the overlay. Okay, the overlay is good. I'm just gonna overlay them on top of the layer in front of them. Only overlay. And then I'm gonna fix them later. Okay, let's jump to the next one. Let's pull this one again. One thing I would do is I'll change this one to red, and I'll just keep this one on top of everything and keep it closed so we don't have to keep jumping to the other like window. We can close this one now. We don't need it. We have this texture. I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm just gonna keep it. Okay, let's try to see which one of this. Control click. So it's called layer 4. I'm gonna now hold Alt and copy this one here. And I'll just remove the red. Okay, I made this, so I copied it, so I will have always a copy of this one. Okay, this one, let's Control T, flip horizontal again, make it much smaller, so it fits the mountain we're gonna place it on top, something like that. Then Control click on layer 4 and add layer mask and change it to overlay. Okay, let's jump to the one next to it. This one, Alt click, drag this one, remove the red, open it, Control T, flip horizontal, and we'll keep doing this so on until we're done with all the mountains, something like that. You can also like warp it around so they don't all look the same. You can play around with the shape a little bit, give it a little bit like of a difference so they don't all look the same, and Control click to make the selection, layer mask it, change it to overlay. Okay, layer 6. I need this one now, which is called layer 6. Copy, remove red, open. I'm like, I'm gonna go too so fast now because I already know how to do it. Did it many times. I'm gonna have this one here. And for example, let me show you something here. Layer 6, if you can see, layer 6, we have a part of it here, another part here. Now I made my mountain small, so it's only here. I can hold Alt and just copy it, another copy here, make it like that, and then Control click both of them, then Control E. Now they are merged on one layer. Control click on layer 6 to make a selection of layer 6, and then on the layer of the texture, I'm just gonna add layer mask, change the blending mode to overlay. Okay, another one for layer 7. Control T, flip horizontal, and so on. Okay, now it's getting a little bit bigger. As you can see now, I'm using a big texture because we're getting closer to the camera. So it's natural that the mountain size should become bigger. Okay, so now as you can see, the overlay didn't do much difference because the one behind it is 50% gray. The overlay, how the overlay works, if whatever behind of it is bright, it's gonna make it brighter, like the one at the back. And if whatever behind of it is dark, it's gonna make it darker. You're gonna see at the ones in the front. Okay, let's take layer 8. Let's copy this one. Make it no color, flip horizontal. And let me put it here. Control click, add layer mask, and overlay it. We can't really see the difference between these two, but it's okay. We're gonna fix it later. There are many ways to give depth to the photo rather than only brightening things up. It's gonna get fixed, don't worry. Okay, layer 10, I guess. This one is layer 10. So let me drag this one on top. Now I'm not gonna flip it horizontal because it's on the other side. I don't need to do the flip. Okay, now I made a mistake. I pulled the top part. If this happened, don't press the maximize button. Just hold click again and keep going up until you see this blue screen and just leave the click. Okay, let's remove the red. Control click and add layer mask. Okay, as you can see, some part here is missing, so I have to move it a little bit, maybe rotate it a little bit, so nothing is missing. Okay. Last one is this, layer 9. Let's drag this one, let's open it. Make it like that. Okay, this one is gonna be a little bit tricky. As you can see, it's too wide and it has some part going down, then moving to the right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this part like that. And then I'm gonna go to the warp tool. I'm gonna pull this one like this. It's gonna be too big actually. So I'm gonna make it smaller. And then I'm gonna take another copy of it, but this one I'm gonna rotate it something like that. And I'm just gonna make it something like this. But now we have a problem. We have some sort of a hard edge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the eraser, make sure it's small and it's soft, and just erase some of the edges. And of course, make sure it's 100% opacity, and erase some of the edges so it blends together. And then control click the two layers, then control E to merge them together, then control click the layer and add layer mask. Now we have the mountain, change it to overlay. You see it got darker because the one behind of it is dark. Okay, so now we have our mountains. It's time for the landscape. Let's see the ones we have. We have this one here and we have the other one there. Let's see this one. Let's see if we can make it work. Uh, Control T and I'll flip it horizontal. Make sure you rasterize your layers. Okay. I want to get rid of the part at the back. There are several ways actually to do it. I don't know which way to stick to. Okay, let's explain like the long way, but it's gonna be really accurate. You go to channels. Make sure you're standing on the layer first. You go to channels. Let's jump to the blue channel. Or you gotta see the channel with the higher contrast. It's always the blue, not always, most of the time. We need contrast between the sky and the grass. So I'm gonna right click duplicate channel, okay. And I'm just gonna stand on the blue copy only. Then I'm gonna press Control L. This will open the levels. I'll make the darks darker. I'll make the bright points brighter, darks darker, bright points brighter, until you have like the best contrast. Something like that. Perfect. No, not perfect. I saw some part of the sky here. It's getting black also. I don't want that. Okay, this is good. And you can always like go to the brush. With the white brush, color this part to make sure it's 100%. Color this part white and switch to black and color these parts black. And you just press this one here. After you press it, make sure you stand on RGB, back again, and then go back to layers. And then on this one, add layer mask. Okay, it did the opposite of what we want. So pressing Control I, it will give us the inverse of what we want. Okay. I don't know if this one will actually work. I don't really like it. We still have, I'm gonna apply layer mask. I need a little bit of fixation to this one. As you can see behind the trees, there is this weird color. So I'm just gonna go to select, color range. This is another way. And I'm just gonna select this color. Make sure it's something like that. Fuzziness like 150 or something like this. And then I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna take my eraser here. I'm just gonna erase the edges of the trees. Make sure you're only targeting the edges of the trees, not like the houses, not anything else. And Control D. Okay, this is much better. Okay, let's make this one a little bit bigger, something like that. I don't know if it's working as it should or not, but we will see. Okay, let's take the other one, the other landscape. Let's open it in a new document. This one, it's gonna be easy to separate. I'm just gonna use the quick selection tool, something like that. Then I'm gonna layer mask. It's a little bit slow. I apologize for that. After masking, press Control I. We have the opposite. Just drag it. Here, it's gonna be like huge, of course. Make it smaller. Let me put it somewhere here. I like this position. And let me pull this one on top of it. I guess in this one it doesn't work because as you look closely, the camera here is from below. Like the man is standing down and he's looking up to these. That's why it's not working, and it's never gonna work properly because of the perspective. You can't fix perspective in Photoshop. So I guess I'll try like several ways to make this one work. I don't know if it will work perfectly or not, but I'm gonna try. If we do something like that, it might work. Just trying to play around with it a little bit, changing the perspective. I guess this is fine now. I just need to add layer mask, use a brush. I'm gonna use this tree brush I have here, and I'm just gonna erase some of these parts. One more thing, I'm gonna stand on this layer, which is like the foreground I have. I'm gonna stand on its mask, and using the brush, I'm gonna make it really small, and I'm just gonna erase parts of the edges. So I blend these two together. Okay, something like that is gonna be good. Okay, still as you can see, we didn't fix any colors or anything. I'm just only doing like placing the objects in the right place. I'm not fixing any colors or light or anything. Okay, now it looks good so far. Let me see if we can make use of the last image, this one. I didn't think we were gonna use it, but as we can see here, it's coming handy. I'm gonna make it smaller, something like that. Then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna paint this one. Like, I like to do this way. It's the opposite. You add a layer mask, then you press Ctrl I. Now it's invisible. Now if you take the brush with white color, whenever you paint, you're gonna make it visible. I'm gonna Ctrl Z, and then I'm gonna take this normal brush, and I'm trying to paint this one like that. I don't know if it's gonna work. It doesn't really look nice, but let's see. I guess we can make it work. I'm gonna switch to black to erase. And I lowered the opacity. As you can see, I don't want to completely erase. Okay, I guess now it's a little bit better. This one also, and this one. I just saw something. I want to have some sort of a path going this way, all way till here. But this mountain is standing like blocking it. So I need to fix it somehow. Uh, I'm gonna, on this one, I'm gonna use the white to paint here, but it's not gonna work. So I'm gonna hold Alt and just make another copy of this one behind of it. Then I'm gonna move it to the top like that. Control T, make it like much smaller. Or maybe pull it up a little bit. Make it smaller from this way. Make it like that. Here I'm gonna paint black on top of the whole mask. Now it's invisible, but whenever I am gonna paint white, it's gonna bring it back to visibility, but with 100% opacity. If I paint white like that, I'm gonna bring it back so we can have some sort of the environment here, something like that. But then we need to fix this hard edge. I'm just gonna move this one, unlink it, and try to move it a little bit down, something like that. But then I have to get rid of the sky, of course. Or I'm not gonna get rid of the sky. I'm gonna stand on the layer and use the clone stamp and just stamp some of these areas here also. So I'm like adding environment instead of the sky. I always like, as you can see, to zoom out just to see an overall look of what I did. It's much better now. Okay, so now we have our composite. I'm gonna settle for this one. You can always, like, every time you take another look to your image, you should be able to add something or fix something about it. But in this case, I'm gonna go like settle to what we did now, and I'm not gonna fix anything else. I just saw this. I don't like this soft thing here. So I'm just gonna go to brush. I'm gonna use this one, the tree brush. And I'm just, oh, I have to stand on the layer and Okay. Okay, let's add our sky. In this photo, I'm gonna use this sky. I have this one here. It's gonna be like a desaturated dark blue sky. Where is it? Here. I'm gonna put it down on top of the background. Okay, so now we have our sky here. It's a very dark blue sky. I'm gonna make it a little bit brighter. Uh, you go to image adjustments, you have brightness contrast. I just make it a little bit brighter. Okay, now one thing I need to explain. As we go further to the background or to the sky, the mountains should look more like the sky. So if the sky is like, I believe this mountain is much brighter than the sky. So I'll either, first let me rasterize it. I'll either make the sky much brighter to match the value of the mountain, or I'll make the mountain darker. But in this case, I'm gonna stick to making the mountain darker, which is this one. I'm gonna bring it back to normal. I'm gonna bring all my, let me close all these layers back there we have. And let me take all of these mountain layers we made and change them to normal. Okay, now all on normal. This one is the one furthest back to the background. Okay, first thing, hue saturation. This is too yellowish green and we have a blue environment, so just desaturate it. Okay, so now we got rid of the very bad like green. Okay, second thing is the value. So I do it by the curves. I jump to curves, make sure it's linked, and you take the dark point, you move it up. I have actually a trick I want to use in this photo. Just stand on top of everything, add a black and white layer. Now everything is black and white. This is really, really helpful and important. Make sure you always use it once you remember, like I did now. If you're on black and white, colors will never gonna distract you. So now we have everything in black and white. You see now the values here and there. Let's say you still have a problem to decide if this one needs, I believe this one still needs brightening, but let's show you another way to be 100% sure. You stand on any layer and you click on the color. Let's stand on this one. You see where this one is? It's here, down at the dark parts. You see once I move to the sky, you see what happened? It jumped from here till here to a very dark, very bright spots. So you see the sky, it's in this range from here to there, and you see the mountain, it's in a range which is much belower. So I'm gonna take the mountain layer, again jump to the curves and just make everything brighter again, something like that. Let's do our check. You can do this check if you're standing on a layer mask. That's why I said stand on a layer first, then sample color. Now this one, you see where is it? It's in the middle, a little bit to the top. This one is still much brighter, still needs more brightening. Something like that. Okay, good. It doesn't have to be 100% the same because it's closer than the sky. It's not the sky itself, okay? Okay, so now we did the first mountain. Let's jump to the second one, which is this one. Let's go to the curves. Oh, first I'm gonna take the hue saturation. I'm just gonna hold Alt and copy it to every single one of them and link it below. This one, there is no difference between them because all of them should lose the green color. Okay, and then let's jump to curves and let me pull this one, make sure it's linked below, of course. Let me pull this one. If I go too much, now it's the same as the one behind of it. I don't want that. I need to make a little bit of difference so that my eyes can decide and see that there's a little bit difference between this one and that one. And we're gonna enhance this difference, don't worry. Okay, now I'm gonna copy these two on top of this one, link them. Which one is this? Okay, it's this one. Then I'm gonna just take the curves, make it a little bit darker. So now we can see there's a difference in the edge between this one and that one. Copy these two by holding Alt, link them below. Okay, it's this one. This one I'm gonna make it a little bit darker because this one is a little bit close to the camera. Let's take these two, copy them. Okay, which one is that one? Okay, it's this one. Okay, you can see the difference between this and that. This is the most important thing. You need to be able to distinguish the difference. Okay, let's link them to this one. Which one is that? Okay. This is it. Okay, brighter like this. And let's take them to that one. Link them below. I link by holding Alt and pressing click. Hold Alt until you see this shape, then you press click. Okay, this one I'm gonna actually darken it. No, I don't want to darken it a lot. I'm just gonna leave it the same as it is. Actually, I'm gonna delete the curves. We don't need it because I'm gonna leave it the same way as it is. And this one also, I'm gonna leave it the same way as it is. However, this one and that one. Okay, this one, I'm gonna add a curves adjustment. I don't know about its color, so I'm not gonna do the hue saturation now. I can't see colors. I'm gonna link it. And this one, I need to make it darker so it looks closer to the back, to the environment. Okay, and this one, and that one, and that one, I'm gonna merge them by Control E, so they are one layer. Because they are oh no, I should not do this because they have different colors. Or actually, they almost have the same color, so I'm gonna merge them. And I'm gonna go to the curves, I'm gonna darken, make sure it's linked below, of course. Darken them out, something like that. Okay, so now working in black and white helped us to see the values. Take a closer look, like now you see it's clear that it's going gradually from like the dark to the bright of the sky. Okay, let's get rid of the black and white for now. Okay, this one we forgot to add the hue saturation. It's very obvious as you can see, and link it below of course, so it only affects this layer. This one, it's too colorful also. We should add a hue saturation. But this one, it's a little bit different because it's very green. So how I'm gonna fix it? I'm gonna go to the green channel. So now, like as you can see, all these, the mountains, they have yellowish green, but this one is a green. So if you look at the green here, first we went to the green channel, make sure you do that. And then if you look at the green and the yellow, the green is right to the yellow. So if I want to make it yellow, I move it to the left. So I'm gonna move it to the left. Okay, but as you see, it didn't target the whole thing. So I'm gonna just pull this one. This is, it's telling you what it is targeting. It's targeting from green to a little bit of yellow. You can move it around so it targets more green and more yellow. I wanna make sure it's targeting the whole grass, whether it's cyan, whether it's green, whether it's yellowish, and just move it to the left. So now it's yellowish color. Okay, good. And I need to add a curves adjustment layer also. And I believe it needs a little bit of brightening. Okay. Now it's good. And one more. I'm gonna take any of the curves adjustments I have, and then I'm gonna jump to the blue channel because the opposite of blue is yellow. I need to add a little bit of yellow to this one so it matches. You see now when I added a little bit of yellow, it's matching the ones behind of it. Okay. Now we're done with the houses. I don't like this part. No, it won't work like that. I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna make a selection like this and delete it. Okay, yeah, much better. I didn't like it. It looked like fake. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is let's make them look more natural. Okay, let me take the first one. One thing I'll always do, you see the blur tool? Just stand on the blur tool, stand on the mask. I'll show you what it's gonna do in this one, then I'm gonna do it really fast. Make sure it's 100% normal. And just with the blur tool on the mask, make sure you're on the mask, not the layer. I'm just gonna do this. I'm clicking now, you see? You blur the edges because in real life we don't have super sharp edges, so you must do it on every single mask of them once you stand on them. Okay. But let me first fix. Okay, I'm standing here on top of them. I'm gonna go to color balance, make sure it's linked below, and let's add cyan. Let's add it to the highlights because this one is bright. Add some blue and some cyan so it matches the color of the background. Uh, okay, good. I'm gonna copy this one actually on top of every one of them. But the ones close to the camera are not gonna have the same amount of color. So I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna show you. Just like I'm showing you a very fast workflow, a very fast pace to work. Okay, now I added the cyan on top of all of them, but only the ones at the back should have very strong cyan because they are close to the sky, which is affecting them. So what I'm gonna do is, this one is the furthest back. I'm gonna leave it as it is. This one is much closer. So I'm gonna stand on the color balance and just lower its opacity a little bit. This one, I'm gonna lower the opacity a little bit more. This one, I'm gonna lower the opacity even more. This one, lowering the opacity even more. This one, and that one, I'm gonna lower it much more. And this one. Okay, so now I'm affecting like cyan from the back to the front gradually. Okay, let's do the blur thing. Which one is that one? Okay, blurring the masks. Which one is that one? This one. Okay, this one is that one, the big one. I knew it's the big one because of its mask. You see the mask shape? It's big, so I knew it's this one. This one, where is it? Okay, it's that one. This one here. Just blurring the edges, making it look more natural. Okay, still we have a lot to do with this photo. Okay, let's do again the mountains. Let's jump to the one furthest back, this one. Okay, I'm gonna add now a layer on top of it, and I'm just gonna take a brush, and I'm gonna hold Alt click just to sample this color from the sky, make it a soft edge brush. Make sure it's on top so it doesn't get affected by the adjustments, and with a low opacity. I'm just gonna add some brightness here and there so it looks more natural. And shall we do the fog now? Okay, let's do the fog now. I'm gonna jump to this brush. It's the cloud brush I use the most, and I'm gonna add, but this one I'm gonna do it with high opacity. I'm just gonna add some fog here and there. I pressed 4, as you can see, to get 40% opacity. So now we have some sort of fog. Let me unlink this actually. No, I can't. It has to be linked. Okay, so now we have the fog. Let's take the layer next to it. This one. Yeah, one thing I need to do, not now. I'll just give it a violet color to know this one is the fog. And maybe just lower the opacity a little bit, too strong. Let me add a new layer, link it, give it a violet color. This is the fog, okay. And with the brush, first I'm gonna do the edges like I did to this one, but with a low opacity. Because the edges are exposed to the sky, they should have more light. And then I'm gonna do the inner part to create some sort of a distance between it and the one behind of it, and lower the opacity. Okay, this one is the next one. Add a new layer, link it, give it a violet color, and let's just do this fog thing. And this one, let's add a new layer, give it the violet, and here we have some fog. It's okay if it's too strong because you can always lower the opacity. And here I'm gonna do actually the fog not with the brush. Not with the I'm gonna do the fog with the normal brush, something like that. And I'll go back to this one also and add some fog. again with the normal brush. This one I'm gonna move it a little bit down, lower the opacity. Okay, then this one, let's create a layer on top of it, give it the violet, so we know it's the fog. And yeah, this, as you can see here, if I didn't do this, you don't know which mountain is front, which one is back. But once you do this, it's very easy to distinguish which one is in the front, which one is in the back. And let me move it a little bit down, right? And lower the opacity. And this city, let's do one below of it, something like that. And let's use the normal brush, lower the opacity, make sure it's violet so we know the fog layers later on which ones are which ones. Okay. Looking good now. I think we need to do like some final adjustments. This one, I'll take the dodge and burn. Make sure you're on the shadows. And I'll just gonna dodge the edges of most mountains because the light should be hitting them. And I can burn. By holding Alt and click, you will do the opposite of dodging, which is burning. Okay, I'm standing on the layer. I'm gonna explain again now. You stand on the layer you want. You take the dodge and the burn tool. Make sure it's in the shadows. Now you're dodging the dark areas. So if I dodge now this part, it will make this part brighter. Why I'm dodging this part? Because it's close to the sky, so it's the part which is catching the light. However, if I can change this one to burn, or I can hold Alt. Once I hold Alt, it's not gonna dodge, it's gonna burn. So I hold Alt and I do this. It does the opposite, which is burning, not dodging. So I dodge the parts facing the sky, I burn the parts away from the sky. Let's do to this one the same. Let's take the dodge, dodge this one, dodge the edge, and hold Alt to burn the parts away from the sky. That was too much, so I'm gonna press Ctrl Z, Ctrl Alt Z to go back 2 times. Okay, now one thing I'm gonna do on this one, this is a layer. Okay, one thing I need to teach you, always once you're working, you go to crop, you press a click. You see all these I have at the back. If I'm sure I'm not gonna use them, I'm gonna click on the delete crop pixels and press yes. You see my file size is gonna reduce much faster now because the file size reduced. Okay. Now one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the, where is it? The color lookup. No, not the color lookup, sorry. The selective color, yeah. This one, I'm gonna jump to the greens. So now I'm affecting only the greens. I can make the greens yellower or more to the blue. I'm gonna make them more to the cyan. You play around with every single color by its own. So I take the cyans, I make them to the right. I take the yellows, make them to the left. Here you can make it brighter or darker. But the greens are not gonna do much difference because most of what we have is yellow. So yellow, you can move it towards the red or towards the cyan. I'm gonna move them towards the cyan. And this one you can make it more yellowish or more bluish. I'm gonna make it more bluish, and you can brighten or darken. I'm gonna darken a little bit, and you can choose to have more green or more magenta, or I'm gonna remove the green. So now I'm trying to blend all the colors together. Okay. I guess I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna make an adjustment to this one. I'm gonna just draw a path like that. And then I'm gonna solo this layer by holding Alt and pressing click on the eye. And then I'm gonna take the brush. I'm gonna sample this color here of the road, make it 100%, and then I'm just gonna draw on top of it. and solo it again by pressing Control click again. So now we have our path here. And let's take this layer now. Let's solo it. No, I can't solo it actually. I'm just gonna stick to the same color. And again, I'm gonna make my selection like that. And Alt backspace to color. Now I colored with the same color, but it's too bright here. So because we have these adjustments on top of it and everything, so I'm just gonna go to image adjustments, brightness contrast, and I'm just gonna lower the brightness, Control D. So now we have some sort of a path going here and there. Okay. One thing I like to do to the ones at the further back, which is this one, I like to lower the opacity. Oh, but we can't because the sky is small, so I'm just gonna make the sky a little bit bigger, something like that. Then I'm gonna lower the opacity of this one. When you lower the opacity, it blends much better with the sky. This one also you can lower the opacity of it. Oh, but we'll have a line, so forget about it. Just lower the opacity of this one. Okay. One thing I need to do to the houses here, I don't know if it will work or not, but we're gonna try. I'm gonna add a new layer. Let me give it a red or an orange, and let me take a red or an orange color, something like that. Let me take it to overlay, and let's add some amazing red color and orange color. Make it more yellowish and brighter. And let's add something like that here and there. Like this village is gonna have lights because we're making everything dark. Okay, another layer, make it red or orange. But this one, I'm not gonna make it overlay. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. It's too strong, of course, but we always can lower the opacity. Okay, we can lower the opacity now. Let's try putting it below and above. Above is better. And we can try actually the linear dodge. Okay, looks good. Let's keep it this way for now and see what it's gonna look like. This is the selective color. Okay, let's now edit the whole thing in one go. I deleted this layer we didn't need, the grass one. Okay, so now we have the composition, we have the blending. Let's try blending everything together. It doesn't look perfect, of course, but when we add layers on top of everything together, they will blend together. I always like to do curves. I like to pull the blacks, take the shadows, pull them down, and make the highlights brighter. Sometimes I do this and then pull this one down also. Okay, you see what this did? It blended everything very beautifully together. Okay, then the color grading. There are many ways to color grade a photo. If this is too dark or too strong, you can lower it, or we can leave it as it is and then go to a brightness contrast and just increase the brightness of the whole image together. The more layers you accumulate on top of everything, the more it's gonna blend together and look much better. Okay, let's add another layer. Now the coloring. We did the curves and the brightness contrast was the value, which is the black and white. We tried to make them as close together as possible. Now it's time to do the coloring. I go to the gradient map or the cursor color balance. I'll start with gradient map. This is basically works by having two colors. The first one, I'm gonna tell him I want a dark blue in my shadows. And then I want this dark blue. You see here, the shadows are gonna be blue and it's gonna go to this yellow bright color. But I don't want a yellow white or I don't want orange. We can make it like from blue to orange. But in this case, I'm gonna stick from blue to cyan, to a bright cyan, something like that. So we have dark blue going to bright cyan. And of course, it looks horrible, but if you lower the opacity, this is 0. You see now it's giving it a very beautiful mood. I'll keep this one to 10%, and then I'm gonna press Ctrl J. I have another copy of this one. I'm gonna make it to like 30 or 20%, change it to overlay. You see, these are the color. I'm gonna show you, okay. First, we had like different levels of yellow and green. This is very yellowish. This is little bit yellow green. This is desaturated. So I made the selective color to try to make them all almost the same level of green or the same level of yellow, whatever. Then these two, I tried to make the bright. As you can see, this point is bright, this point is dark. We have differences in brightness and darkness. So these two were to try to make them bright and dark together. And these two were try to bring the colors all together. You see now? I hope now, like this tutorial, I'm going super slow so everyone can understand. And still, if any of you have any questions, please put them down below and I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna close these two just so my file goes a little bit faster. Okay, more adjustments to make, more to the colors. Let's try the color balance. Let's go to the shadows. Let's try, now I'm just playing around. We can add like different colors in the shadows. This is like completely depending on your taste now. I can make it, I like actually the magenta a little bit. Let's bring this to 0. I'll try the blue. The blue actually looks better than the yellow and the cyan. So a little bit, I'm gonna add 2 to the blue and 2 to the magenta. And I don't know if I should go to the cyan or the red side. I'm just gonna leave it as it is 0. And then let's jump to the highlights. The highlights, no, I don't want the red. Not the yellow either. I actually like really the magenta vibe. It makes it more moody and dark, something like that. So, but I'm not gonna add. I'm gonna add a little bit magenta in the midtones. This is just playing around with the color. So this is the before and this is the after. If you believe it's too strong or you're like you don't know, you like both. You like this one and that one. Just lower the opacity and it's somewhere in the middle. Okay, now we did many things. We did balancing the value, balancing. No, the first thing we did, the first thing at the beginning by adding the photos, it's called balancing the perspective. Like we add all things in appropriate perspective. Then we balanced a little bit colors. We balanced brightness, which is the value. Then we balanced the colors. And the last thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close all these and I'm gonna add a layer bottom of them. This time I'm gonna take a brush. This is called balancing the light direction. So now we have light here. I'm gonna sample this color. This is the color of the light. And oh, this is too strong. I'm just gonna lower and we should have here some sort of a beam of light. And we have some lights here, maybe affecting a little bit here, but that's too strong. So I'm just gonna lower the opacity, affecting a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit in the middle. And this is of course too strong. So just lower the opacity. Another layer to balance light, but this time I'm gonna keep it to the overlay mode. And then this is like I'm gonna dodge and burn. So to do this, you have to zoom in a little bit, and with a very low opacity, I'm just gonna go to the edges or the parts where we should have highlights, and I'm just gonna add highlights to them. You see we have highlights here, so I'm adding highlights, highlights, highlights here and there, highlights on the road. And I need to highlight this village a little bit because it's important. I'm also gonna highlight this area. Also highlight these parts. Highlight some of these mountains, and this one I'm gonna highlight it a lot, something like that. Okay, so this, as you can see, it added a lot of highlights to the photo. So these two were just adding light direction. You see where the light is going, where the light is coming from. And then again, let's open everything, balancing everything. So let's close these two and open them. You see they added a very beautiful light. Okay, now because we added a lot of colors on top of each other, this one got a little bit desaturated. It's not as clear as before. So let me add a layer on top of them. I'm gonna try to go with a warm color this time, something very warm like that. Let's change this to overlay, and let's take my brush and let's paint some of very warm colors because we have a very cold environment. So having warm colors on top of a cold environment will make it pop out very strongly, and this is what we want. We want the eyes to be attracted to this village. And also I'm gonna add some orange to the grass because naturally this light should throw some of the like luminance to the parts around of them, to the trees, to everything. So I'm just gonna make this village a little bit orange color. And as you can see here, if you believe it's too strong, you can always lower the opacity. And I always like to try to lower the opacity a lot, then Control J. We have a duplicate and try different blending modes. You see the screen, but the screen is too strong, so I'm gonna stick with a very low opacity with the screen and a higher opacity with the overlay, just to add some sort of variation to the image. Okay, one more thing you can always do to see like the overall color is the photo filter. The photo filter is just adding color on top of the whole image. I'm gonna close it. This was the image. This is a warming filter. I just double click it and then keep pressing down on my keyboard to see different filters. This one is very blue, cyan. This one is red, green, cyan. I don't know if I should stick to a certain filter. I guess I like the sepia actually, but it's removing the blue we have, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Forget about it. Okay. One last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a brightness contrast, increase the brightness. Then I'm gonna press Ctrl I. Now it's invisible. Now I'm gonna take my brush with a low opacity. Make sure you're on the white color. Now whenever I paint white, it's gonna bring back the brightness and contrast. So I'm gonna paint white here and there, just the important areas should have white. I'm gonna lower the opacity and just make some sort of a vignette. So what this did is it made some sort of a brightness in the middle. Now I'm gonna do again the same but brightness contrast, and now I'm gonna darken everything and lower the contrast, because when you lower the contrast, this is not important. Okay, after I do this, I'm gonna press Ctrl I, invisible again. Oh, sorry, I'm not gonna press Ctrl I. I'm gonna leave it as it is, but then I'm gonna paint with black at the parts where I want to erase. I want to erase here and there. Okay, just to make this part more visible. You see what it did? It's too strong, I believe. I'm gonna lower it a little bit. This one is too bright also. I'm gonna lower it a little bit. So this is what they did. You see, they make your eyes automatically be attracted to the point in the middle. Okay, we're done with the editing. You hold Ctrl Alt Shift, then press E. This will merge everything into a new separate layer. You can go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and edit the whole photo now in one go. The Camera Raw Filter is very, very important. There are two options here that you can't find outside in the Photoshop, which I like so much. One of them is the clarity. One of them is the dehaze. I always like to add a little bit of vignette. This is something I always do. Vignette is just like a black circle around the photo. Just add a little bit of it. -5, -6. The dehaze you can always try. If you dehaze, it removes the fog, make everything more clearer. If you haze, it adds fog, making everything less visible and foggy. So I'm gonna stick to dehazing a little bit. I like the foggy look here because it's like a city in an abandoned place. So the foggy will like help it. And in the clarity always, not always, sometimes if you increase clarity, everything is clear or sharp, but it looks awful. So just reduce the clarity and press OK. But now we edited the whole thing together. I don't want that. I want to edit only specific parts. So you have here some tools. One of them is the graduated filter. Make sure everything is 0 first. And you just draw. Now we're drawing a gradient. Now we're only affecting this area. I have the gradient here. Only this area is being affected. So now I want to attract the eyes to the village. So I'm gonna increase the clarity here. So now this village is like much clearer, something like that. Increase the clarity. You see now the houses are much clearer, and the dehaze, remove the fog because I want. Actually, the problem with this, if you can see, it's also affecting the bottom part. I only want to affect the village. So I'm just gonna press cancel. I made a mistake. Camera raw filter again. I'm not gonna use the graduated filter. I'm gonna use the radial filter. This one you can draw a circle. As you can see now where I'm affecting, I'm having this exposure just to see I'm affecting this part. I'm gonna make it back to 0. Now I have the clarity. I'm gonna make it much clearer. You see the 100% is super clear or super soft. I'm gonna make it clearer, and then I'm gonna make it, remove the fog from it, dehaze, and maybe add some sharpness to it. Maybe a little bit of brightness to attract the eye, some contrast to make it more eye catchy. And control Z, sorry. One thing you need to know, like you have here the options, this part down, this is the feather, and this is the overlayer mask. This is where you are affecting. You can open it to see where you're affecting your thing. And this is the feather. You can have a very sharp selection or very soft. You can have it affecting inside or outside. This is important. I actually have a complete tutorial about the camera raw filter in my channel. Just search for camera raw filter and you'll know everything you need about the camera raw filter. Okay, so now I made the eyes look more here. I made this sharper. I made this more clear. It's time to do the opposite to the sky and the background. Filter, camera raw filter. I don't want people looking here at the sky. It's not important. So I'm just gonna zoom out and I'm just gonna draw a big circle here. This is where I'm affecting, but this time I'm gonna bring everything to 0. I'm gonna do the opposite. I don't want it sharp. I want the opposite of sharp. I don't want it clear. I want the opposite of clear. And I want it hazy. Like I remove the mask just to see. This is what the dehaze is, the saturation, sorry. This is what the dehaze is gonna do. It's either gonna make it clear or less clear. So I want it less clear. I want haze around the thing and press OK. So now I have this sort of haze around everything. And I guess we're completely done for today's tutorial. I'm gonna show this is before the camera raw filter. This is after the camera raw filter. I always like to check my histogram to see where my values are. You don't want anything completely black. You don't want anything completely white because it's gonna be missing data. So now we're in a very good spot. We have most of our photo in the dark areas. We have some bright areas. And always look at the navigator. Always go to image adjustment. Image rotation, flip canvas horizontal. This is very, very important. It gives you like a different look to your image, making you see things a little bit clearer. And one thing, only like one tiny thing I forgot I do in most of my photos, I add a new layer on top of everything. And then I take my brush, make sure it's very low opacity, very low flow. And I just hold Alt, sample color from here, and just paint around with it. Sample color from here, paint around with it. Sample color from the mountain, paint around with it. I keep sampling colors from different parts of the photo and paint around with them. It was important in this photo because we have very strong details. I need to get rid of them. So you're just sampling it, just like you're smoothing everything in your image together. You don't have like very sharp details and everything. You do that like only to the things where you don't want sharp details in them. I'm not gonna do it with the village, of course, because I don't want to lose like the beautiful details in the houses and everything. I just do it with the mountains, which have very strong details. Just making them softer. It's alternative to the like the one I told you about, the clarity in the camera raw filter. But it's a manual mode. Here we have like a sharp edge, as you can see. So I'm gonna sample some color from the fog here, and I'm just gonna paint with it over this edge. Maybe sample some color from here. Oh no, you see when you sample color from far, I'm gonna control Z. It doesn't look good. Just getting rid of these edges, and the road here, I'm gonna sample from this color and paint over the road because I believe the color of it was a little bit different. And here we have a lot of also like details, but it's okay to have details here because this is close to the camera, so the details here are not really bad. Oh, I sampled from a wrong area. Okay, now looking good. And that's it for today's tutorial. I wanna say an announcement. In the next month I'm gonna buy a complete YouTube setup, a camera, a microphone, everything, and I'm gonna do like very detailed tutorials from now on all of the images that I create. So if you have any questions, any comments, if you have ideas on how I can improve this channel, make sure you link them down in the comment below, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and like this video if you found it of benefit. Thank you guys.